One of the hardest things for me to get used to when I moved to France from the US wasn't the lack of space here or the lack of comfort, but rather this shared mentality that's pretty common among French people that there's only one right way to do things. And this mindset applies to a lot of aspects of their life. It applies to their style, how they dress, it applies to lifestyle, it applies to education. And a really prime example of this that I experienced is that one time I went to a boulangerie and they had a whole shelf of sandwiches, paninis, baguettes. The lady behind the counter had a toaster oven behind her, and so I ordered a ham and cheese baguette, and I asked her if she would mind toasting it for me. And she said no, without any explanation. And I said, oh, so the paninis, how do you cook them? And she said, I toast them in the toaster oven. And I said, oh, well then, do you mind just toasting my ham and cheese baguette? Because I prefer it toasted. And she said, no, it's meant to be eaten cold. And I said, okay, well, I understand that, but do you mind? Because I have a preference for it hot. And she said, no, that's just not how you do it. Her refusing to toast my ham and cheese sandwich on the principle alone that it's not a sandwich that's intended to be eaten hot perfectly captures what is so distinct about French mentality versus American. There's a correct way to do things. Everything has to conform to that way. And that very rigid mentality has to be the hardest thing to have adjusted to as an American moving here.